The story of the Appley Bridge meteor actually begins on October 13th. The piece of atomic rock arrived in the pitch-black sky of Lancashire at 7:45 in the evening, and it certainly caused a stir.
All of a sudden, the night sky was illuminated by this rock from outer space that came into our atmosphere. And it first appeared over Stoke-on-Trent and travelled at 8 miles per second, terrific speeds. And as it travelled through our atmosphere, there were explosions as it went through the atmosphere, bright lights in the sky. And of course, the first twist in the story is the First World War hadn't long started, of course, August 1914. So everybody who heard these explosions, the lights in the sky, etc., they came to the conclusion it was a German Zeppelin raid on Lancashire.
The new resident of Appley Bridge was then discovered early the next morning.
2 gentlemen were out shooting in the fields just outside Appley Bridge. One worked for Halliwell Farm, and it was on the land of Halliwell Farm that they noticed something different. And it's described in all the archives as an upturned mound of earth. So they went over to investigate. There was a hole in the ground, and this rusty brown stone, about the size of a medicine ball, really, was in the bottom of this hole. And they discovered what was to become the famous Appley Bridge meteorite.
But local villagers were convinced that they had been victims of a German attack.
They really thought it was a German invasion. That much so that later on in the story, a piece of the meteorite, probably no bigger than the piece that I've got here, came back to Appley Bridge to go on display in a local shop, or the local shop of the time, to allay the fears of the villagers, because they were totally convinced it was a German air raid.
So a small piece was kept in the village, but what happened to the rest?
But the main mass, as we call it, the main meteorite itself, came here to Manchester, to Professor Jenkins, who worked and was director of the Godley Observatory.
I think it's recorded somewhere in the minutes or whatever, or maybe the paper even, that once they'd taken it from the field for safekeeping, because at the moment they want to show what it was, so they then brought it here for the scientists to give it a once-over a look at, and then eventually I do believe it was moved to London. So they have a sample down on the museum on Oxford Road here in Manchester.
Russell discovered the story of the meteorite after moving nearby to its landing site. He's researched the story to its full extent, and he's even travelled the world telling its story.
With the Appley Bridge meteorite, it's that story behind it. So that makes it quite a rare meteorite, really. It's not an unusual meteorite in any terms, you know. It's the story behind it, and the fact that it was seen to come through the atmosphere, all those explosions, and it was found shortly later. So it's that, really, and just to keep the story alive.
Bronnie Jones, That's TV.